said I'm gonna get at you. You know I'm gonna get it fixing me up. I'm gonna get at you.
Shalom, peace everyone. Back with another video. And as I shared before, I was going to be talking about Jezebel. So yeah, buckle up. This is not a popular topic by far. And but Jezebel, very close to feminist, and that characteristic, excuse me, is running rampant. So let's talk about it. So I wanted to share two aspects of a Jezebel, and the first one being a lack of accountability and a lack of self-introspection. I want to read something. So this is a trait of a Jezebel female. When there's no investigation based on the sense of feeling. She's feeling something, but she doesn't investigate it. If she truly cared about why things were happening, she would look beyond the blame and analyze her own actions. So Jezebel, she immediately like, okay, no, I'm gonna blame this person, I'm gonna blame this situation, but she doesn't look beyond that and analyze, okay, why is this really happening? You know, like, how am I creating this? You know, and she doesn't look at her own actions for what she did wrong. Lack of accountability. And she'll have a rational judgment as to her feelings, like as to how her feelings are rational. So she rationalizes her feelings, which is not good, because a lot of times those feelings, if you don't take the time to go inside and really analyze them, but you're holding so heavy to them, and you're like, okay, no, this is sound, this is reasonable, but it's like you don't know if that feeling is coming from a place that is not reasonable. It could be coming from trauma, but because you didn't introspect and examine, you don't know that. So a Jezebel doesn't examine her own self for what she did wrong. Okay, and if someone is to point out how what she's feeling is unreasonable, and a Jezebel doesn't get rid of it. So once logic is introduced and it's obvious that, like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, she doesn't do away with it, because she's not really looking for a solution. She'll still hold on to it because she doesn't have an interest in actually solving the problem. So that's a trait of a Jezebel. Now I just want to I read that, but I want to kind of break it down, just kind of go through it. Okay, so the lack of accountability part. If she truly cared about why things were happening, she would look beyond the blame and analyze her own action for what she did wrong. So that lack of accountability there, we see that she doesn't do that. And this shows up in many different situations and looks many different ways. And I'm going to give an example. Not just for the lack of accountability, but also a lack of introspection too. So just flow with me. I'm just flow. Well, I'm gonna use an example of an experience that happened at my job today. So I work with people. I'm like an assistant to case managers, and I'm currently in school for sociology and want to get into social work. So I'm learning a lot by assisting case managers and what they have to deal with. So the person I was dealing with today, she called in. And she's wondering, she's like, why is my case closed? And she didn't understand why her case was closed. But her case was closed because there was no information that was sent in to support the reason for the claim. So her thing was, she was so fixated on manipulating, and she thought that maybe she wasn't focused on manipulating because that didn't even cross her mind, but it was so much a part of her nature, and it was so automatic in what she was doing. I don't know if Jezebel's always conscious of if they're manipulating. I don't know. I think some are. I think some is so ingrained that it's just how they are. It's just in their nature. But this particular woman, she thought that her feelings, how she felt, was going to be the logic in that phone conversation. So her thing was, okay, well, nobody notified me of what was happening, so it's not my fault as to why this claim was closed. But when I inserted logic, it was like, okay, well, we did send out a letter saying that this is what was needed, and it wasn't given, so that's why it was closed. But she didn't absorb that and take that in. Her thing was like, no, like, she was trying to find proof as to why she felt was reasonable. She kept saying, well, nobody reached out to me, so it's not my fault. How was I supposed to know? So you can already tell I didn't know, right? So if I didn't know, then how is my claim closed? How is my claim closed? It's like, your claim being closed is not based on how you feel, based on what you think is reasonable and logical. Because nobody reached out to you, she felt like her claim should have been closed, but that's based on a feeling. The reality is she was sent information and did not respond to it. And she contradicted herself and lied because she verified, like, this is my address, and that's where the information was sent to the address. I was able to prove that. It didn't click. So after a while, just kind of going back and forth, she kept trying to go, she was being combative. She kept going back and forth with me and kept saying, no, like, nobody reached out to me. So, and she kept doing that over and over to the point where it just got to the point, for me, I was like, she's not looking for a solution. I'm telling her what the solution is. And tell her, okay, maybe close, but here's what we can do. She didn't want to hear that. She just wanted to talk about how she felt was reasonable, and she kept trying to, like, argue in that. And I'm like, that's not going to work, because for one, you're calling into a company and you're trying to use your own Jezebel reasoning to win this fight here. But I'm coming with facts and logic and a matter of, like, okay, this is what it is, and even trying to help, and that wasn't being received. So that was just an example of, like, how the Jezebel would use, like, in that situation or in that example, she didn't want to accept the solution. And ultimately, I just did what I had to do to just get her off the phone, pretty much, because I was like, you're not listening. So let me go ahead and direct you to the person that you need to talk to so they can talk to you, because you just want to go back and forth, and you're not going to win here. You know, just, if you're really serious about, like, wanting this claim to be open, and then you wouldn't be going back and forth fighting. You'll take the solution, or you'll take the solution, and you'll be like, all right, I was given a solution, let me go ahead and roll with it, because there's nothing else I can do but just follow what the next step is, you know. So, but I use that as an example. Granted, the people I work with are in heavy situations a lot of times, so that's granted, right? But there are some sisters who, that's how they function in other scenarios. It can be how they function in a relationship. It can be, it's just a part of how they interact with people, no matter what type of relationship it is. But where it becomes the issue is when a woman is in a relationship with a man. A lot of times that is a problem, and it becomes a hindrance in a healthy relationship. You know, it's an indication that a relationship is not healthy when the woman is functioning that way, because that causes issues. If you're just looking to fight and you're not looking for a solution, and you're wanting to go back and forth, but you're wanting to go back and forth off of your emotions, but you're a person that didn't go inside and examine, you don't introspect, you don't go within. Well, a lot of women say I do go within, but it's not really going within if they're not really, like, examining and taking accountability for how they created, you know, certain things in their life, or how they really created everything in their life. If they're not doing that, they're not really going within. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, that's just an example of, like, where's I going with that? So I was just saying, like, how that can become a hindrance inside a relationship. It can be an unhealthy dynamic, and it is an unhealthy dynamic when a woman is functioning that way. It's not harmonious, you know. So that's definitely a Jezebel trait. And a lot of times when she's speaking to a man is going to bring logic. So he's not going to go back and forth with how you feel about things. You know, he's going to come with the logic. But women oftentimes try to go back and forth with the man as if he's a woman, and he's not. So because she doesn't introspect, she gets really, really offended when a man comes with that. But that's the work that you're supposed to be doing with yourself. When you're sitting down and analyzing and you know, becoming self-aware of behaviors that you need to change, you're analyzing and examining your ways and actions. But someone who doesn't do that, they become really offended when a man come and does that, because that's in his nature Like, if you come with a problem, he's going to bring the solution. That's in his nature. But a woman who doesn't introspect, I can't drive this point home enough. A woman who doesn't introspect, she's going to be offended by that. And I think this is just kind of like a side note. It's just really unfortunate. What I'm finding is that a lot of women who portray themselves to be a certain way, whether it's a conscious woman, whether it's a spiritual woman, a magical woman, whether it's a Hebrew woman, all of these different titles, right? A lot of times it's a lot of ego is what I'm finding. No character development. It's a lot of ego, and a lot of it be a lot of Jezebel feminist energy underneath it, even though they're portraying themselves to be this person. And it's like, it's just a lie, you know. So that's just a side note. It's just very disappointing, I have to say. It's very disappointing. But this Jezebel trait it's so widespread, and a lot of us deal with it. I deal with it. You know, I think that there's levels. There's a constant stripping away and pulling back. But when you become self-aware of the behavior and you're able to be accountable, then you're so much further along than someone who is in complete denial and don't want to accept it at all. That person can never grow and change in that aspect. You know, but someone who can take accountability, like, yeah, I did that, I can see how I do that, they're closer to changing those behaviors. So you at least want to be at that step. You at least want to be there with it. You at least want to be able to admit and say, like, yeah, I notice when the Jezebel comes out. I can see when the Jezebel is present. You want to at least be able to do that as we're striving on this journey of femininity, of true femininity. And another thing I noticed, another side note, it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing. And maybe one point, at a certain point, I'll accept it. But as of right now, it's disappointing when there are women who are portraying themselves to be these spiritual women, these conscious women, these Hebrew women who follow Torah, who follow law, but they don't really follow it. They don't. There's a disrespect for men still. There are women who solely they make God or they make the Most High Yah their man, and they disobey and they disrespect the law and the order that the man is the head. So they still doing anything they can, like, no, the Most High is my head. Like, you skipping the line. You're skipping the line. The Most High speaks to the man and the man speaks to you. It doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with the Most High Yah, but the Most High Yah gave you a law which was submit to your own husband. But there, I just see women who just, like, they don't want to honor that. They don't want to respect. That's what the Most High told you that you're supposed to do. And you were created from Adam's rib. So you were created out of him. You were created out of that man. And the Most High will show you a vision of who your husband is supposed to be. Say, like, this man is yours. You're that man's rib. So you're supposed to be obeying and following that man. But then women want to pick up any other excuse. Okay, well, if he ain't doing this, a man gotta be doing this, a man gotta stay in your lane. Why? How come you don't focus on what you're supposed to be doing, which is getting rid of Jezebel, making sure that you're being receptive, making sure that you're being honest and you're not twisting the words, you're not twisting law. Because there's scripture on that too, when a woman twists things and twists the word. Eve did that. She twisted the word. And then Adam ate the fruit. Maybe I'll do, maybe the next part I'll share more on that on the next one, because that's actually a really, really, really great example of just being disobedient, and that was the original sin. So why don't we just start there? So I'll save that for the next video. But for all those who are going to catch this live later, thank you for watching, and if you're vibing with the information, you already know what to do. Okay? All right. Not Shabbat Shalom. It ain't Sabbath. Shalom. Enjoy the rest of the evening or whatever time it is for you. Peace.
I'm gonna get a fixing me up. Said I'm gonna get at it. I'm gonna